For the last 2 weeks, I've been steadily on a diet to cut calories and become a little bit leaner. When you're talking about fat loss, it starts with proper exercise and of course nutrition. However, some things do need gaps filled, especially from a nutritional standpoint, whenever you're cutting calories. So today I'm going to take you through some of the supplements that I take and some things that I have sitting around the house that I believe work and probably don't work as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll the intro. And before we get started, please be sure to comment, subscribe, like, all of that good stuff. We're trying to build a little community here, so a little subscription goes a long way. And for supplement number 1, no surprises, creatine monohydrate. This is a powderized version of creatine, and in my opinion, it's the most efficacious supplement on the market. Creatine has been studied more than any other supplement as far as I know, and it turns out that there's no real downside to using creatine. Some people might say that it causes you to retain more water, but that's not necessarily true. Creatine actually builds up water inside of your muscle tissue, so you have intermuscular water weight inside of your muscle, but that's what you want. You want to have something that'll allow you to actually build muscle and, something that will allow you to actually see results from. When it comes to supplements, this is my, most recommended supplement that I would pretty much tell anyone for the most part to consume. Overall, if you ask me, creatine is the most important supplement that anyone can be taking, and everyone should be using it. There's nootropic benefits and there's also muscle building benefits when it comes to using this, so definitely a must have, especially if you're on a cut. And the next supplement that I have is vitamin D3. I don't think that necessarily everyone needs to supplement vitamin D, but I think most people do. And a big part of that is because most people are stuck inside. I personally work a desk job, so having this, every single day is something that I consider a requirement. With that said, there are different supplements that you can take that are already going to have vitamin D included, such as multivitamin. So don't stress if you only have multivitamins around the house, for example. Having something like this around does help, but there's different ways to get in vitamin D. In my opinion, having vitamin D around is super important. It's probably the second most important supplement that I would say I have next to creatine. This can improve things like mood whenever you're not getting outside and getting enough sun in your eyes. As a result, having a better mood and a little bit less stress can also result in maintaining healthy testosterone levels. However, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. I'll admit that. Anyways, vitamin D is a must-have, especially if you're, on a cut and you're like me, working a 9 to 5 inside of a desk. And here we have a massive jar of fiber. You might be wondering why I have such a big jar. Well, there's really no reason for it. Honestly, we just keep the fiber on the countertop, so every morning I can get in about 5 to 7 grams of fiber. The reason for that is because I feel like I personally have been shorting myself on fiber whenever I'm on a cut. This isn't necessarily the case though whenever you're looking at me bulking or even maintaining. I typically get in enough fiber. However, whenever I'm on a cut, I can tell that I'm not, regular. So having a little bit of fiber around definitely helps. Also, fiber can help make you feel a little bit more satiated, so having fiber around is something that's, in my opinion, worth the investment. However, I will say that, this does have some calories in it, so if you are cutting, that's something to keep in mind. You don't want to go overboard and you want to stick to roughly 1 serving. For me personally, or for the fiber that I'm consuming, that's going to be about 20 calories. And that's why for me, fiber is one of the more important supplements I think that you can have, especially whenever you're on a cut. And we have the Amazon Basics multivitamin. Typically, we'll just have reoccurring payments for multivitamins to come to the house. They're relatively cheap and it allows you to fill in the gaps for different micronutrients or vitamins that you might not be getting through your food, especially whenever you're cutting calories. Admittedly, I don't know the efficacy of, multivitamins from Amazon. However, I will say that these are nice to have around, and if the label is true, then you're getting in a fair amount of those micronutrients that you might be falling short on. And that would be things like vitamin A, B, D, and E. And having something like this around is nice, but I will advise caution that you do have some calories coming from this as well. So when you add in the fiber and something like this, it's going to sit around 35 calories. Nothing to really sweat, but something to keep in mind. So in my opinion, having these around are nice, but there's better multivitamins out there, and of course, you know, it's not a complete requirement. Most of the vitamins and nutrition that you're gonna get from this, you can also get through your regular food. And of course, we've got whey protein. Now, I'm gonna just be honest here, I don't think that this is the most efficacious protein. In my opinion, brands like Gorilla Mind or even Transparent Labs both have third-party tested supplements, and I think that those are probably the best route if that's something that you're concerned about. With that said, I did get this for free, so I don't know a lot about the actual brand itself, but having whey protein around the house, or really any kind of powderized protein that you can easily consume, is kind of nice, especially whenever you're on a cut. This allows you to kind of fill the gap whenever you're falling short on protein, especially if your goal is similar to mine, which is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. That's usually a good rule of thumb whenever you're trying to cut calories, so having this around is definitely key. But again, I'm not necessarily advocating for this protein brand in particular. I do think that there are better protein brands out there, and if you look into, you know, some of the companies that you actually see online that are heavily marketed, usually those are pretty forthcoming and, you know, efficacious when it comes to the processes that they use to actually produce, you know, whey protein. And of course, whenever you're on a cut, one thing to keep in mind is that this actually has, you know, a game-changing amount of calories. For this protein right here, you're looking at about 140 calories per serving. So having 2 scoops is going to equate to almost, you know, what is that, 280 calories roughly, give or take. And that can cause you to, you know, close the gap between a calorie deficit and just maintaining. And you really want to make sure that you're tracking your calories whenever you're cutting to assure that this right here doesn't cause you to fall short of your, you know, calorie deficit goal. Whether that's 250 calories or 500 calories, I probably wouldn't go more than 500 calories personally, but that's just my own personal take. Anyways, whey protein is a super important, you know, piece to the puzzle when it comes to a cut, and it really allows you to not just, you know, get your protein, but also stay satiated throughout the day. And last but not least, we have the Alpha Brain. I'm gonna be honest, I got this like 2 years ago, maybe a year ago, and I used it every day for about 2 weeks. And I'm just gonna be completely upfront here, this powderized Alpha Brain didn't really do much for me. I feel like I spent money that I didn't need to spend just to kind of feel like I was gonna have some type of nootropics. Now, I'm not trying to say that this brand is gonna like rip you off or that they have necessarily bad products, but when it came to Alpha Brain, I felt like it was something worth trying, and for me personally, I just didn't see it happening with the powder. However, I do think that there are some supplements that you can kind of replace. I know that Gorilla Mind has a lot of really good nootropic supplements, and in my opinion, those actually work and provide some really good clarity. It kind of helped me get away from my brain fog that I was having at times, and in my opinion, it's worth taking those versus this. So in my opinion, this is a bust. I wouldn't buy it again, but let me know down in the comments if you've tried out Alpha Brain and if it worked for you. Maybe it's just a me thing, but I don't think it's worth buying. With that said, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed today's content, please be sure to comment, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff that I mentioned before. And of course, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. I really am trying to build like a nice little community that we can kind of just get together, share videos, and comment down below and have discussions about things going on. So with that said, I'm going to end the video here. Until next time, keep it together.